It's May 5th. Call to order the May meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission of Town of Willington. It is 7:35. Members present, Jeremy Brothers, Stephen Troyer, Rebecca Sinowski, Robert Shabbat, and that's all. Any applications for receipt?
No.
New business? Discussion and review of zoning amendments pertaining to middle housing as required by SSA 25-1.
Okay, so in front of you is sort of an updated, refined, and edited or reduced sort of reg or draft reg to kind of start the conversation as a follow-up to what we talked about maybe 2 meetings ago, or maybe I mentioned a couple of meetings. In November, they passed legislation that allows or mandates that we allow 2 to 9 units of any residential development on any lot zone for commercial or mixed use. We have to allow them by summary review, which is not a site plan, nor a special permit, nor a variance. So it's creating essentially a new use category and a new review process. So the approach that I've taken here is to create a single section to handle the entire, all of the contents related to what we're calling middle housing. That is largely to make the adoption of the reg easier and for people to use it, easier for it to be administered, but also we would have to basically create sort of subcategories in every zone because we have existing standards for special permits, uses, and all the criteria, but now we would have to create a new use, but also a new process for each of the zones, and it would be much more confusing given the limitation that we are acting within in the type of review. So summary review is largely a site plan review, which means that it's a non-discretionary review by the commission, which means all of the standards and the reason for a reg that is several pages have to be completely formulaic. You have to be able to read something and know if it complies, yes or no. So other standards that we might have in the regs that talk about the commission wanting to ensure that it has adequate buffering or appropriate design and landscaping, those things are out because you might think something is different, for adequate versus the applicant, et cetera. So what I've tried to do is to outline the process. Well, I guess, let me stop. A lot of this is similar to what you've seen. So I can go through the sections piece by piece and talk you through them, sort of what's there and the sections, or you can ask questions if it feels familiar to you at this point. What's your pleasure? What would be easiest?
So this is a condensed version of what we were shown last meeting.
It's a condensed version that I pulled out the things that I thought were not necessary.
Okay. And this is going to be standardized across the state?
So the state mandate requires all towns to do the summary review and to allow the transit community middle housing or mixed use developments. How each town does it is up to them. Every town that my firm is writing regs for is using some form of this template because I don't think there's a more complete way to do it without revising 4 different sections of the regulations. And with the time that we have, it's just not possible.
But all the bullet points that are listed here are things that need to be addressed in this program?
The statute doesn't say that they need to be addressed. I'm suggesting they need to be addressed. Statute just says summary review. So you don't have to adopt language. You don't have to have any criteria. You just can't make them get a special permit. You can't hold a public hearing. If you don't adopt any standards, then as of July 1, they walk in and they say, okay, commission, I'm here for my completely non-discretionary review, and you have to basically get them out the door.
So at least with this, we have a pattern that they
Correct.
need to follow.
Right.
Okay.
Yes. And so I'm trying to be very prescriptive and not just say, here's what, we expect adequate landscaping, appropriate lighting. I'm trying to literally create a form-based reg to prescribe all of the contents, at least in the beginning, because I have had my fair share of application reviews all across Connecticut, and we don't know what we're gonna get. Many developers take the approach of, if you just tell me what you want me to build, I'll build it, because I wanna have a good relationship. Other developers have built something somewhere else, they've already paid for those plans, and they just wanna replicate. Other people wanna do exactly the cheapest as possible to make this as lucrative as they can, and so even though we hope to get sort of the first version, we have to be prepared for the version of that may come before us and say, I'm not gonna do it unless you're gonna make me.
Okay.
And so you'll see in here standards that think about the person driving by that wants a building that is in the context of the community, but also the person who's gonna be living there, right? I have provisions in here to make sure that the windows are operable, that you're providing shaded green space for people to sit or for kids to play. Because we're being told we have to create housing.
So all this as presented to us will pass muster
With
the state saying that we need to comply.
this adheres to the standards that are defined as summary review.
Okay.
Okay. Which is essentially a 1.5 lines in the bill. But, there has been substantial debate about this. I think I mentioned to you guys that my firm and Halloran Sage, who's the town's attorney, put on a joint session about this. So we have spent a lot of time talking to Mark Brantz and Ken Slater and Rich Roberts about some of the things that we're unclear on. So this approach has been vetted.
Okay.
It's pretty.
Yeah, I sat through that, and there was a lot of questions like whatever the state really means. Or,
Right.
Yeah,
and the answer is they don't know.
Yeah.
The state has no idea what they mean.
But this would help us not have to have 2 months of conversation amongst ourselves trying to come up with a viable plan for the town.
Yeah, and you could still have those conversations. I mean, the template I presented you before had a lot more to it.
Right.
This is kind of simplified. Having written, this in a number of different places, they've asked to really increase standards and are really, 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 really focused and really concerned that the world is ending because of this reg. And other towns which are saying, let's keep it simple. I'm sort of landing in the middle.
Yeah.
So you'll see that we have a lot of standards relating to building elements, roof materials, facade treatments, roof types, to really try to get into some of those things. Landscaping especially, because again, we can't just say, shall contain a landscaping buffer along the rear portion of any parking space. Well, that landscape buffer could be, a single shrub.
Mm-hmm.
We have to be very prescriptive in saying what it needs to be, what the quantities are, what the sizes are. So that's
So
kind of
you're
where
being precise so that anybody coming in to build understands what they have to fall in line with.
Right, essentially the formula, exactly what they need to do. And so, not to keep rambling, but the one big asterisk to this is that it is very, very likely that 24 hours from now, we're gonna find out that the legislature, in their continued wisdom, has passed an extension to this bill. The problem that we have is that by the time that percolates down to everybody and we are able to see the language, we will be past the point when I have to refer this to CROG. but we won't have another meeting. So my suggestion for the commission to think about is my initial request is that we can make any amendments and talk about any tweaks to this that you might think are appropriate now. Come the end of the week, if I don't have language and if we don't know that this has been extended, my suggestion is that you entertain the idea of this being referred. I will refer this by the end of the week. So we can schedule a hearing, which we are then free to continue to make amendments to. We can go through June and, whatever.
But you wanna get this to CROG.
But I wanna get this to CROG so that if they don't extend it, we at least have a path to getting something adopted for July. If we find out that they have extended it, then I won't refer it and we'll come back in June and we can continue to talk about it because there's no rush. But I don't want to be in a situation where we waited and then they didn't extend and now we have somebody asking to build this and we don't have a reg.
Comments from the commission?
So I'm wondering if we should just, I like what I'm seeing, if we should just get, so we're even in the public hearing process. You said in the public hearing process, we can still
Yes,
kind of adapt this a little bit more before it gets finalized.
yes,
But at least we have something, even if the public hearing takes 2 or 3 meetings.
yes. The commission is not under statutory requirements for timeframes related to hearings. So the only risk that you could run into if they don't extend and you've got the hearing open is if somebody submits their application prior to the effective date of you actually adopting this. But if we refer it out by the end, essentially by the end of the week, we will be able to have a June hearing and you could adopt it at the June hearing and set a July 1st effective date. So if they didn't extend it, we're covered.
And then come back if, we found a hole we
Yep.
didn't expect to plug, we can do that later.
Yes.
We can massage this at will.
Yep, you could even do exactly, we did a similar thing for cannabis. You adopted regs and then said, we're gonna set the clock to immediately come back and think about if you need to make more changes. So you could adopt this and then roll right into a hearing in August to continue to amend. But I think I probably have mentioned in other towns, there have been some developers that have sort of already expressed an understanding that this thing is about to hit. And so, I mean, I think the development pressure here is much less than other places, but I don't want to be in a situation where we don't have standards because we can't say, sorry, we didn't adopt anything in time, so we're going to deny you. And we can't. We would have to go through the regs and apply whatever standards exist. And news alert, there are no standards for what a building really is supposed to look like that would comply. We don't really have landscaping standards that are, so we would be, the likelihood we end up with a development that doesn't look the way we might want it to is higher if we were to get an application.
I'd say we put it to CROG and
Yeah, I would.
assign the hearing for
Absolutely.
June, and
Yeah, I think we should refer it to CROG.
Yeah.
Get this thing moving.
do we need a motion? Cause I'll make the motion.
And there's other things that you might decide to do later. You can add this so that it applies to projects greater than 9 units. You could apply this in residential zones instead of just the commercial zones if you want. And there are things that towns can do to get, what is it? Some towns are really focused on trying to qualify for an 8-30G affordable housing moratorium. And there's ways that you can accrue points. And so doing certain things associated with these types of developments in other areas allow you to accrue points. I don't think that we're in a position where that's a concern that we need to have, but there are other incentives. For example, certain provisions of this bill and others would allow the town to be eligible for an additional 5% reimbursement for a school project, for example. So there's other things, there's other carrots, but the stick part is what this is meant to address.
We need a motion to refer to CROG, or do we just, hey, we want to refer to CROG and set a hearing date?
I don't think you need a motion, but it would be good as long as there's a consensus that if we are not certain that we have an extension from the legislature, that I will refer the current draft to CROG.
I don't think we're gonna go with it.
Yeah,
I don't wanna drag that longer.
well, I know from working with CROG and other places that I know we're gonna get our comments back in time. You know, normally we'd be worried that we might not get it and then we have to revert to 35 days, but they're really focused on this because everybody is in theory doing it. So we'll have comments and we can go forward, but, yeah, there's no rush if they extend it, but I can refer it no matter what, and you can just decide not to have the hearing. I mean, we don't need to have the hearing simply because it's gone to CROG for comment. We can get their comments, and then I can come back to you in June and say, well, we've got an extension, what do we wanna do, schedule a hearing? Talk about it more, here is what CROG said, what are your thoughts?
Why don't we do that?
That's,
I think that's
Okay, what if we,
It doesn't
I'm
put us-
just,
it doesn't put you in
in
a
a
bind.
position.
if there's not an extension. Yeah, I mean, either way, we're gonna refer this to CROG, would you set the hearing date for our
Well, so
meeting?
my statutory deadline to refer to CROG is longer than what I need to schedule the hearing. So I can decide essentially come June to schedule the public hearing, but I need to get to CROG a month out. So I have a little bit of leeway. So if we wanted to make the decision later, I mean, I could work with Walter or whatever. You can tell me what you want to do now, but we don't have, I'm just, what I'm saying is you're not boxed into having a hearing because you refer to CROG.
Sounds like it has all the benefits and nothing to lose.
Right, there's nothing to lose.
Yeah, right.
And then, so just tell me, do you want me to just run the whole hearing for June, or do you want me to see if we get an extension?
See if we get an extension.
I'm kinda on the, let's run the hearing for June and get it,
Oh,
start, even if we like suspend it or say, hey, at the last second, can we just cancel the hearing? I guess I'm,
You could just decide to table it. You don't have
You
to.
could table the hearing for 2 months or whatever.
I say, at least it's on the books, then we don't worry about the what ifs.
Sure,
yeah.
there's nothing,
I'm kinda of the,
I mean, we've got all the information,
Yeah.
pretty much all the information we have with this and the items that, Mike handed out last meeting.
and so I will, I mean, just noting through here, like, the graphics are intended to help illustrate the text. They don't establish a different standard. It's just meant to show what some of that stuff is, how to apply the architectural elements. You know, I have the graphic in there for the full cutoff fixtures. We talk a lot about dark sky compliance, but we don't have standards that say it has to do that. So this is requiring a fully shielded and cutoff fixture with a specific angle so that, you know, because even if something has a 90-degree angle, it's still pushing that light up like this. So we're actually requiring more of that angle. And it explains again what light trespass is. The open space requirements is what I described, 500 square feet per unit. You could decide that you want 1,000, you could decide you want 200. Then I have the example building types as we talked about, which again are graphic representations of the architecture that we've discussed. They're not regulatory. Then the dimensional standards. So nearly all of this are your existing standards from the current regs, except for a few things which I'm suggesting we establish a sort of a guideline for. So for example, building width. I'm suggesting that we establish a maximum building width of 75 feet, just because, you know, thinking about where this is, South Willington Village or area of Phelps, I don't think we want someone just dropping a building along sort of that entire frontage. We want something that's more in the context of smaller buildings, maybe multiple buildings, but not huge. So 75 feet, we could adjust up or down, or we could eliminate that. Building coverage, impervious coverage are existing. I'm including in here that parking or garages need to be in the rear yard. I don't want people putting parking in front of the building. One of the things that I'm establishing is a minimum overall height. So I'm wanting them to build something that's 2 stories. Again, most residential developments are approximately 2 stories. So we're saying we want you to build at least 2 stories, but not more than 3. And that says 3 stories, I'll have to fix that. Building separation, again, wanting to have some space in between multiple buildings so that they're not on top of each other. those, and then maximum unit size. So you could run that at 1,000 square feet, you can adjust that up or down, you could decide you don't need it. Part of the reason for thinking about that is not wanting someone to just call it, I'm not suggesting that they would do this, but the law would allow the owner, Bill, who owns Phelps, to just say, oh, that vacant unit there, that's an apartment now. And so there's nothing that says he can't do that. It's an existing building, it's in a commercial zone. As long as the septic supports it, you could just say that's an apartment now. So by limiting the size to something, you're sort of hopefully allowing them to think more thoughtfully about how to break the interior of the building up.
With Santini's building behind Big Y, those longer buildings that he's putting up, finishing now.
Yep.
What's the square footage in each one of those units?
They vary because he's got multiple bedroom configurations.
Oh, okay,
It's approximately, it's like 18 to 20 units per building.
right, yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I drove through it the other night.
yeah, so he's got some studio 1s and 2s.
Okay.
So I don't know, but I don't know what the floor plan is for how big or small they get.
So somewhere around 1,000 square feet probably.
I would think the biggest.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's a little bit of an outlier. He builds a product that I think is more of what people would want or expect to see here. But it looks a little bit nicer. Their sites are a little bit cleaner, and I think they're a little bit bigger than what you might see being built
Okay.
regionally or statewide.
Yeah.
I think the average 2-bedroom apartment that is not a Santini apartment is smaller than that. But the other thing is size. We can't establish a minimum size, but we can always cap. And so by capping, you have some effect on cost, right? A 1,500 square foot unit is going to rent for more than 1,000 square feet.
Yeah.
So if we limit size, we can sort of limit cost.
Okay.
But if you think that's above and beyond what you think is necessary, we can strike it.
Does 15 feet separation seems kind of close to me.
It is on the closer side, yes.
Yeah.
I would, you probably would want to go up. I was sort of looking at the minimum. I wouldn't go lower than 15.
Okay.
But you could go up to 25,
I understand that.
something, which would be equivalent to the setback. So, that's up to you.
You said parking in the back, but these design examples have parking in the front?
For the conversions,
Building orientation and layout, is that what we're looking at?
Building design examples, section F.
the graphics.
Yeah.
Oh, so you're talking about like the front loading garages?
Yeah.
Yeah, what we're referring to, and I could clarify it would be, like a parking lot, like actual surface spaces.
Got it. Yeah, it should be clarified.
The goal is to bring the buildings closer so that it feels creates more of a sense of place and have the parking behind rather than a traditional, sea of parking between.
Yeah, a strip mall parking.
Yeah, that is the hope.
So that's not challenged by, having a single unit garage in the front because people would be parking inside.
Yeah, we're talking about we could specify that specifically. There are some places that don't want, garages facing, bay doors facing the street, but for something like that, where you have that's a duplex, they're not likely gonna have parking. They're gonna just have a driveway that'll come right off and they'll enter in, just like a single family home. Not likely gonna see parking. Something like the second row, that's probably gonna be something where you'd have an access drive that came in and they would be sort of turning left or right into there. You wouldn't have but we can clarify that language if we need to specify that specifically.
all those small things we can get into in the
In
future.
the future, in the public hearing and
Right.
stuff.
Right. And even after.
Even if it's, hey, we need to amend this. We thought we had it, we don't like it.
So the other thing that, I don't know if this is a benefit or a can of worms, but the other thing that we will have, if we ran this forward, it would be the June 16th meeting. That is also the meeting that the EDC and Board of Selectmen will be here to talk about some of the overlapping things like tax, SDZ. So, you know, if the commission wanted their feedback or participation in this stuff, they'll be there. That is useful or not, but
Well, it's a rare occasion where multiple commissions get together. It might be better to just focus on
the other,
the commissions want to talk about as opposed to dragging this into
That's what
the
I
mix.
yeah, no, that's totally fine by me, for sure.
Unless we have to.
Right.
There's
But-
still that gray window.
Yeah, but we could schedule the hearing and you could just postpone. So we can come to the 16th and say, hey, it got they gave us an extension, so we're gonna postpone this. And if we decide then we wanna, and you could postpone the hearing or open the hearing and continue the hearing for as long as you want, months. If we decide that when we get to a reg that is a revised version of this, that it's altogether different, we could just refer to CROG again if we need to, but almost all of what you're gonna probably do is well within your rights to make tweaks once the hearing is open.
They would go to CROG and schedule a hearing just so it's
Available.
it's available for us to use if we need it.
That's fine. Okay,
So that's what we'll do.
I'll refer the draft.
Yeah.
We have, like I said, I did the count, we've got until Monday to be able to refer. So we'll see how it shakes out. I'll get it referred. And maybe if we know it's extended, I'll clarify that to CROG just to let them know that our intention is to be responsive to whatever. And then we'll get it to them, see if they have any comments, and then get it scheduled, and then you guys can decide how to proceed on the 16th.
Alright.
As of now, because I don't have the time to be able to really do anything, I'm not intending on having anything for you the 2nd May meeting.
Okay.
And I don't know if Walter will be back or not by then, but we don't have any applications that have been submitted that we need to take up, and this will still be pending.
Well, I think it sets us up for this, but also we can decide that evening if we want to just focus on the multi-commission items that are gonna be on the table.
Yeah, I mean, there's certainly a lot of other things that'll be fodder for plenty of discussion.
Anything else before we move on? Unfinished business, don't believe there was anything. Approval of minutes of April 7th, 2026. Everybody had a chance to review those.
I move we accept the April 7th, 2026 meetings as presented.
I'll second. All those, discussion? If none, all those in favor? Aye.
Abstain.
Opposed? Abstain. Pass. Correspondence, Mike?
I don't have anything other than just the update on the legislation. And then I guess I already talked about the Joint Commission workshop.
Public participation. Ralph, you got anything for us tonight?
No, just listening. I'm good.
Okay. Okay. Nobody here, no one else
No, it's
there.
just, yeah, for now.
Staff report?
That's, I think, pretty much all I got. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that we're working on. Mike McCoo and I have been working on project stuff. Been meeting with a couple of property owners. We've got, we're trying to get, the last of all of our files and maps and everything organized and scanned, so we can get everything into Laserfiche and get that active on the portal and have that finally done.
Any breakthroughs in South Wellington about the sidewalks?
We got everything. We did have a, pretty good breakthrough with DOT. We've got the final plans, which we're wrapping up. The only thing that we're looking at, or that we need to sort of come up with a solution for now, is it looks like there's some water, I guess it would be a water valve or some type of a shut off in front of the mill, one of which is in the sidewalk.
Okay.
We have noticed that at different points it runs, and we don't want to, just by complete coincidence, find out the day after we put the sidewalk in that it's broken and now we're being asked to fix it.
Yeah.
So we're trying to figure out what exactly that is, and some of that stuff there's no records for.
Right. Yeah.
So we need to understand what that is and either figure out if that's qualifying and plan to move or repair that when we go out to bid, or something else. But we're afraid that if they even take the thing up, it's just gonna.
Is that great?
It's probably 100 years old.
Yeah, right. So
As soon as they shut off that water supply, the load end of that pipe collapses.
yeah, so that's what we don't want to be the unintended consequence. And now we're doing all kinds of crazy stuff. So we're just trying to figure out how to approach that. It's only a small section of the project, so
But it'd be a major headache.
sure, it would be a major headache.
Yes.
CBYD wouldn't even pick it up. No one has any idea where it goes, where it comes from.
Okay.
Camera. Flush a camera backwards down it. Little robot camera.
Someone I don't know if it's possible. I think if you can do like almost like an Apple AirTag, send it down there and
Track it.
track
it all the way through.
I don't know if the pipe's fully energized. I don't know if it's been hit, if there's a route through it. I mean, it comes from Fisher Hill. They have a big impoundment or tank. So water comes out of the pond, goes into a huge cistern in a building on, what's his name? The attorney on the corner there. Lot?
I don't know who owns
The
that.
big attorney, the attorney owns that big property and house right on the corner of Fisher Hill there.
Yeah.
So he's got a building in the back there that has a tank, and water comes up there, and then there's a pipe that runs from that tank through an easement, through his property, down, clips the corner by the fishing game, and then runs in front of that building, and that services this suppression system.
It's interesting, when I was in Ohio, we went on a field trip and they were trying to find a pipe under the ground. Took a piece of, 1/8-inch steel wire, and bent it straight and then down and held it like that. And as you walked across, if the pipe was running like this, as you walked across, the thing would pull right like that and show you exactly where the pipe was.
Interesting.
So I wonder if that would,
Like a divining rod?
like a divining rod, yeah. And it wasn't just, everybody held the wire and walked over where the pipe was, and the thing would just always just come back to it. I don't know if it's magnetism from the metals or what's going on. But, the pipe in the ground in Ohio was there for, probably 100 years.
Could have been some
or
heavy
more.
metals in the water.
Yeah. So anyway, it is 8:09, meeting adjourned.